Christian right, meet the heathen left. Those of us on the heathen left cherish the positive social change of the last 100 years or so. Workers' rights, women's rights, the civil rights movement, gay rights, and we want to protect these social and political changes that have meant a better life for so many. The incoming administration is aggressively against all of that.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason.
But their boldness gives us an opportunity to be clear in our opposition. Kira Butler over at Mother Jones has assembled a helpful list of just how these people plan to repackage old, discredited ideas, and we're going to go through them and see if the outline of our platform doesn't reveal itself. Hi there, Rad Mom here. Thanks so much for joining me, because a literal death cult has ridden Donald Trump's coattails into the White House, and the stakes could not be higher.
There is an ascendant religious group that I've been following. They believe that the United States is a Christian nation and that the Constitution is rooted in the Bible. And this group believes that Christians are called to take over the government and that Trump has been anointed by God to help them do that. This minority of Christians has an outsized influence. They have proximity to power. They are going to be trying to accomplish a whole lot under the new Trump administration.
We're going to protect Christianity, and I can say that. I don't have to be politically correct.
Here are 5 things that they definitely have in their to-do list. The Establishment Clause is part of the First Amendment, which is, of course, the amendment that gives us free speech and also freedom of religion. And the Establishment Clause basically codifies the separation of church and state.
We touched on this in last week's video because it is transparently what those Christian nationalist twerps trying to take over Jackson County right down the road from me, that is transparently what they're trying to do, boldly stating they want to take over the local Republican Party. Why would they want to do that? To send one of their boys to Congress, of course. Get enough guys like that in the room and they'll just ignore the Constitution because they're on a mission from God.
It's important to Christian nationalists because they believe that America is rightfully a Christian nation. They believe that Christians should have control of the United States, and if we have an establishment clause saying that government is separate from religion, it will be hard for them to do that.
And we want to make it as hard as possible for them to turn the United States into a Christian theocracy. The heathen left will uphold the separation of church and state, putting our weight into the idea of a secular government, doing practical things, a government that doesn't care what religion you are and treats all people equally. AKA the least effective method.
Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022, at least 20 states have banned or restricted access to abortion.
Advocating against abortion and advocating against birth control is unpopular. So if they can rebrand this as harnessing the power of your natural cycle to prevent or achieve pregnancy, then they are really expecting that a lot of people are going to want to get on board.
Call me an optimist, but I don't think most people are that stupid. Seems to me anybody who embraces that shift in messaging will already have believed these things. They're just going to love getting to crow about it.
During the first Trump administration, there was federal funding that was dedicated to natural family planning. And then more recently, earlier this year, when IVF came under attack, there was a group of Republican senators that put together a bill that had to do with what they called restorative reproductive medicine, which was basically a fancy way of saying tracking your cycles to try to get pregnant.
Now, this one confuses me. What we're saying is women who want to get pregnant and can afford fertility treatments, so there's a good possibility that they're married, and probably white, are being told to just go home and watch the calendar, worry about when's the best time to live totally preoccupied and hope and pray and probably have plenty of sex so hubby's going to be happy, when they could just help her achieve her dreams of motherhood. It almost looks like it's not about that. This just really looks like control of women's behavior. Motherhood be damned.
Now that Republicans have more power in the government, it is almost certain that they will advance more legislation.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry signed into law a bill requiring the 10 Commandments be easily readable on a poster-sized display in every publicly funded classroom in the state.
Trump has said several times that he plans to dismantle the Federal Department of Education.
We should abolish the Department of Education.
I sincerely doubt this. If only because that would leave the Fed with no purse strings to tug to get the schools to do their bidding. You know, 10 Commandments statues, No Child Left Behind, lunch programs, whatever. Who throws away a power like that? If anything, they might make a big show of dismantling the Department of Education, meanwhile quietly creating their own corrupter version in the background.
Whether or not he does that, you can expect that Christian nationalists will be lobbying for more money that is supposed to go to public schools to be diverted to religious private schools. They often do this through voucher programs, and it's been found that in the states that do allow these voucher programs, 90% of the schools that voucher program users attend are religious schools.
And see, for me, the voucher program just raises a whole lot of questions. Why are most alternatives to public school religious schools? And does the funding for the schools belong to the schools or to the children? So that they can, take it with them if they choose to leave. Should that decision on the part of the family impact the school to that degree? There are a lot of questions here. The voucher program has been an issue for a long time. It's clearly slanted in the wrong direction.
Another piece of the agenda is to make public schools more explicitly religious. All over the country, you have these kind of test cases where legislators have advanced these initiatives to insert religion into public schools. This is the Bibles in classrooms, the 10 Commandments in classrooms, the school chaplains instead of school counselors. These are all folks testing out how far can I push this before somebody stops me from doing it.
This one really does worry me a little bit. Racism may not be as popular in Tennessee as you might think, but Jesus? Jesus's PR here is fantastic. Most people won't bat an eye at Christianity in public schools. At least, that is my fear. As far as our opposing platform, there is the fun little question of no religion in schools or all religion in schools. Personally, as I say, I think we need to throw our weight into a secular government, a practical government. I think tax money is better spent on many other subjects. And since religious groups don't pay any taxes, they can use their money to found their own institutions. This one is obvious. The Heathen Left will protect same-sex marriage. We are all about protecting the positive changes brought by modernity. Did same-sex marriage wreck anything? No. Well, only the platform of conservative pundits who built their brand in opposition to it. And you gotta stay busy, I guess. But expanding the legal definition of marriage to include same-sex couples destroyed absolutely nothing and hurt absolutely no one. I don't even remember them trying to stoke up a backlash. Even they knew they had nothing. So no, obviously we're keeping this one. Opposing it has no material basis in reality.
Much like getting rid of abortion, getting rid of same-sex marriage is broadly unpopular. Instead, what you will hear them saying is a lot about biblical marriage, traditional families.
I'm traditional marriage. It is changing rapidly.
These are all euphemisms for the idea that marriage should just be between a biological male and a biological female. So even though they're not saying get rid of gay marriage out loud, they're saying biblical marriage, they're saying traditional marriage.
This rebrand is even worse. It's just lazy. We all know what traditional marriage is code for, you guys.
And they are launching a campaign to overturn Obergefell, which was the decision that legalized gay marriage. One major campaign strategy in this effort to overturn Obergefell has to do with the judiciary. Specifically, they are trying to recruit and install Christian right-wing justices in the lower courts with the hopes that eventually this will make its way to the Supreme Court.
So then these lower-level judges get promoted, and they're just playing a really long game here, it appears to me. It really is an attack on all levels. And we all need to find out who these guys are in our area and vote against them.
Israel
Oh boy, here we go.
is the shining city on the hill.
This group of Christian nationalists believes that in order to bring about their end-time scenario of choice, which is the return of Jesus, that all of the Jews have to go back to Israel.
The 13th prophecy is the regathering of the Jewish people when Israel was reborn in 1948.
In order to help that happen, America has to support Israel.
That's right. The new apostolic reformation is literally a doomsday cult.
their end times scenario of choice.
No exaggeration required.
You'll often hear them saying that God blesses America because America blesses Israel.
And they want to take us all along for the ride. These lunatics don't care if they burn the whole earth up fueling their delusions of grandeur. They sure don't care about public service. The Heathen Left stands for public policy that serves the public. We will defend the separation of church and state because this is a great application for it. It is not your job as the president or as any elected official to bring about the apocalypse, to engage in Jesus fanfic cosplay with your finger on the button. This is dereliction of duty. You're supposed to make our lives better, not end them.
So the Trump administration is kind of a key part of their agenda because they believe that because Trump moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that he has been anointed by God to help them hasten this end time scenario.
The stakes could not be higher, and we who oppose you will unite against you.
Lord said, it's my desire to put Trump in for 4 more years. And then something else was said that I didn't expect. For the sake of the nations. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Unless we forget, these people actually believe they can have personal, private conversations with God. And their boy's gonna be president. And somebody needs to mount an organized opposition to this insanity. That is this channel's mission, and if it resonates with you, please subscribe. Things are just getting started. So come back at the top of the hour, that's noon Eastern Standard Time, for the live stream, where we can keep this going a little while longer, and 2 weeks from today for a brand new video. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks. Bye.
Have an establishment clause saying that government is separate from religion, it will be hard for them to do that.
Whoops.